Hello and welcome to today's video. It is New Year's Eve, so we are going to be talking about my 2026 TBR, the 26 books that I want to read for sure in 2026. There are so many good books on this list. I made this list a little bit differently than normal. The first 10 books are all new releases, so they have not been released yet, but they will be released sometime soon in 2026. The following 10 books are books on my physical TBR that I must get to this year. And the final 6 books are books that are already released. I can go to the bookstore right now and get them, but I do not own them. So let's get straight into it with the first 10 books that are all 2026 new releases. The first book is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austen, and it releases on January 13th. Emily Austen is honestly an auto-buy author at this point. I buy every single one of their new releases, and they have been all coming out in January the last little bit, and I usually do read them in January right away. Emily Austen writes about really difficult and dark topics, but they are just dripping with dark humor. They are so funny to me. I don't know if it's just me and that it connects with my type of humor, but they are hilarious. And I really hope that this one has that same type of humor because it really makes the book for me. The main characters in all the ones that I've read have some sort of mental health struggles, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of the humor is based around that. And there's also been quite a bit of mysteries in the book, and you just kind of get to watch this character who is just so funny figure out the mystery. And I'm hoping that this one kind of has the same premise, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be heading straight to the store on January 13th to read this one. The second is The Renovation by Keenan Orhan, and I have not read anything by this author, but the premise of it just jumped out at me. It sounds so extremely interesting, and this one releases on February 10th. It says, a woman discovers that her bathroom has been remodeled into a prison cell, where she's an unlikely inmate, in this surreal novel of exile, grief, memory, and migration. Oh, and it's actually this author's debut novel, so I'm excited for this one. Maybe this will be a top author of mine going to 2026. It is a fiction, literary fiction, and it is also Italian. The next one comes out February 3rd, and it is Cruelty Free by Carolyn Glenn. This is another author that I have not read anything from them yet, but the premise of it sounded very interesting. And then also the authors that they linked to Caroline Glenn, I really like, and I find their books very interesting. So I thought we should give this one a shot. It says for fans of Monica Kim and Rachel Yoder, which Rachel Yoder was the author of Night Bitch. Not my favorite, but I found the topic of the book very interesting, and there's a lot of potential there. So I'm excited for Cruelty Free. It is a debut horror novel. It's also a debut author, which is awesome. And it's a horror novel in which a disgraced movie star returns to Hollywood 10 years after the kidnapping of her young daughter, intent on seeking revenge. So this one just sounds like it will be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait until February 3rd. Fourth on the list is a thriller. It is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. I have read a book by this author. What was that book called? I read The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I think it was a Book of the Month book a few years back, and I did really enjoy it. So I'm just excited to see Taylor Adams' new release and see if it's anything like the last one. And that is high up on my list. And that one comes out on February 17th. Number 5 on my list is I Love You, Don't Die by Jade Song, and it comes out March 17th. I've heard really good things about this author. I haven't read anything by them, but I've heard incredible things. I saw that this book was releasing and it looked very interesting, so I thought I had to add it to my list and give this author a shot. It says, heartfelt novel about the meaning of love, friendship, debt, depression, and death in New York City. A coming of age for a new generation in the vein of Sally Rooney and Otessa Mossfig, which I love Sally Rooney and Otessa Mossfig, so I feel like I will like this book. I love when they kind of relate an author to another author so you can get some good book recommendations, and whenever I see Sally Rooney in one of these explanations of the book, I have to add it to my list, so I'm excited for this one. I think it's safe to say that I'm going to be excited for all of them. Number 6 is Ghost Eye by Amitabh Ghosh, which comes out on June 16th. This is another author that I've never read anything from, but the premise of this just really jumped out at me. It says magical realism meets 1960s India in a novel about a girl with mysterious powers who might be able to access memories of a past life. It is literary fiction and set in India. And just that little synopsis sounds so interesting to me, and I'm very excited for it to come out on June 16th, if I did not say that already. Number 7 is another thriller from an author that I have read from before and have really enjoyed some of their books, not all of their books. The last book that they came out with, I didn't like at all, but I'm willing to give them another chance, and that is Alice Feeney, and she's coming out with My Husband's Wife on January 20th. I find Alice Feeney is so hit or miss for me, but they are very fast-paced, and I often do have a good time reading it, so there's really no harm in giving it a chance, and the premise of this one does sound very interesting. I believe this woman comes back to her home after being away, and her husband answers the door with his wife, even though she is his wife. I don't know what happens next, but we'll have to see, and I'm very excited. And number 8 comes out on February 24th, and it is The Reservation by Rebecca Kaufman, another author that I have not read anything from, but this book stood out as a new release that I do want to get to. The Reservation explores the loves and labors of an ensemble of more than a dozen restaurant workers as they strive to get perfect meals to table. And it says it's for fans of The Bear, which I love that TV show. Even though I work in the service industry, I do like to come home and read more about it, watch things about it. So I really enjoyed The Bear, even though it was so stressful. I'm kind of thinking that The Reservation is probably going to be as stressful as well, but I don't care. We're going to be reading it on February 24th. Number 9 is The Valley of Vengeful Ghosts by Kim Fu, and that comes out March 3rd. This is another author that I haven't read anything from before. I'm actually so excited because a lot of these new releases that I'm excited to read, I've never read from these authors. These are new authors to me, so there's just a lot of hope on the horizon. Hopefully I'll find a new favorite author this year. It says, an eerie, spellbinding novel of grief, ghosts, apocalyptic rain, and slowly splintering reality from an author who writes with a pen as sharp and precise as a lancet. It is horror, fiction, and grief. In the aftermath of her mother's death, Eleanor is unmoored. For years, her mother orchestrated every detail of her life, from meals to laundry to finances, as Eleanor focused on her career as an online therapist. Left to navigate the world on her own, Eleanor clings to her mother's final directive: use her inheritance to buy a house. Desperate to obey her mother one last time, Eleanor impulsively buys a model home in a valley-turned-construction site. A picturesque development steeped in a shadowy history, it feels like a fresh start, until the rain comes, an endless torrential downpour. As water seeps in through the house's cracks, the line between what is real and what is not begins to blur. Haunted by the stories of her clients, a stream of workmen and bureaucrats she can't trust, and visions of ghosts from her past and present, Eleanor's reality unravels, and she's forced to reckon with the secrets she's buried and the choices she's made. This sounds exactly like a book that I would love. It reminds me a little bit of Paradise Rot, which was one of my favorite books of 2024, I believe. So I'm very excited. Very fever dream-esque. It has potential to be a top book of 2026. We are getting to the end of the new releases. We are on number 10, which is Go Gentle by Maria Semple, and it comes out April 14th. Another author that I have never read anything from. There are so many authors I want to read from this year, and this one says, the story of one woman's cheerful determination to live a life of the mind only to have the heart force its way in. Fiction, romance, mystery. It says, the journey of self-discovery will grip you from the start. Romantic, hilarious, intelligent, and bursting with the stuff of life. Go Gentle is a thrilling story of one woman's midlife transformation, cementing Maria Semple in the pantheon of our most exciting and important contemporary writers. So that is the last of the new releases for my 2026 TBR, the first 10 books. And now let's go into the next 10 books, which are books that I have on my physical TBR and I haven't gotten to and I need to this year. Okay, we are back. I have coffee now, so I'm extra ready to go into the 10 books on my physical TBR that I must get to in 2026. So at number 11, we have none other than The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This has been on my physical TBR for so long, and not because I don't think that I'll like it. I actually think that this has such high potential for me to like. It sounds exactly like something I would like, but it's kind of intimidating. The pages are so very thin, and I've heard such mixed reviews about it, and I've heard that it's very slow, so I'm ready to read it this year, but I need to put aside some good quality time and really dig into it. And one of my friends, Georgia, loves it, and I know I'm gonna like it. I just need to commit. And there's actually a video I want to film this year of me reading this book so that it will actually motivate me to finally read it. But I know that it is set at a university. It says, under the influence of a charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at a New England college discover a way of thought and life a world away from their banal contemporaries. But their search for the transcendent leads them down a dangerous path beyond human constructs of morality. So that right there sounds so intriguing. Like, I need to read this. It's getting freaking ridiculous. The next two books on the list are sequels to books that I loved. I really, really enjoyed. But I think because I loved them so much, I'm scared to go into the next book. And they end with the second book. The sequel is kind of like a follow-up, and I'm nervous that they just released a sequel because the first book did so well. Like, it wasn't necessary to have another book, but just because it has such a big fan base that they got pushed to come out with another book. That's what I'm scared of. That's my fear. I don't want it to ruin what I think of the first one. And neither of the books ended in a way that it needed a follow-up. So I haven't been dying to read them, but it's about time. We have Either Or by Elif Botman, and this follows The Idiot. And I really enjoyed The Idiot. Our main character is just so funny to follow along with, and the writing style is very unique. I didn't think that I would enjoy the writing style, but main character just has so many different life observations throughout the whole entire book, and I fell in love with it. So I want to read the second one, and I think she goes back to university for her second year of university, and that's what the second book is, and the first one was the first year. I don't know. I also haven't really heard anything about this book, so I'm a little bit nervous, but we will try. The next book on the list is Find Me. So this is the follow-up novel to Call Me By Your Name, which is one of my favorite novels ever. I love that book. I annotated it to shreds. It's one of my favorite books, and this has been sitting on my shelf, and I just don't know if it's necessary, but I need to get to it and figure it out and just kind of just do it. Just do it. So it's time. 2026, we are finishing these series. I don't even know what you would call it. We'll find out if these were necessary or not. Next up is another Donna Tartt. She made my list twice this year because I've had all of her books on my shelf just staring at me for so long. I read a bit of The Little Friend, and I did enjoy it. It was just so extremely slow, which I just know that I have to expect and push through when I'm reading one of her books, but I've heard great things about this one as well, and it is on my list. Another video, possibly, to make me finally read this book, and my friend Georgia, again, has read this. She's a big fan of Donna Tartt. She's read all of Donna Tartt's books, so high up on my list. Next is Intermezzo. I have a copy, but it's not with me right now. That is the only book by Sally Rooney that I have not read yet, and I don't know why I didn't read it right when it got released. The premise of it doesn't excite me right away. It is about brothers who are chess players, and I believe it goes deep into their relationship, and I'm sure it's great, and I'm sure that Sally Rooney has made the topic very fascinating, but it isn't something that just screams to me and makes me want to read it. And I've also heard mixed reviews from people, but I don't know if those are people who generally like Sally Rooney's writing. So I'm wanting to read it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it. I really, really love Sally Rooney's writing. My favorite book by her was Conversations with Friends. I loved that book. And then also the adaptations that came afterwards of that and Normal People were just incredible. So I'm excited for Intermezzo. Maybe we'll get an adaptation. I hope so. That's my 2026 dream. And the next book is another one that I should have gotten to by now, and that is Emma by Jane Austen. At this point, this book is haunting me. It is on every single TBR list, but 2026, I'm not kidding this time, is the year to read Emma. In the spring, I'm cracking this open. I'm making a pot of tea and we are reading Emma. Another one I'm sure I'm gonna like. That's the thing with this list is these books have been on my shelf for so long or on my mind for so long, even though I'm almost 100% sure that I'm going to love them. So there's no reason to not read it now. And Emma will be one of the classics that I get to this year. We have 2 more classics coming up on the list, which is exciting. Number 17 on my list is Pride and Prejudice. My beautiful friend, Georgia, I'm naming her again. This is like the 5th time in this video, but she bought me it for my birthday. It's still with her right now, so I don't have the copy with me, but she read it recently and really, really enjoyed it. She's obsessed with it, and I'm excited to read it and see what I think about it. I haven't even watched the movie, so I don't really know what it's about, but I'm excited. I want to go in a little bit blind because I feel lucky that it hasn't been ruined for me yet and that I haven't watched the movie, so I get to have this experience of reading the book and then watching the movie, which is one of my all-time favorite things to do in the world. So yeah, that's 17 on my list. And 18 is Dracula. I will be reading this in the fall this year. This past year, 2025, I read Interview with the Vampire, and Dracula is the blueprint. So I need to go back and read this year during the fall. And I'm very excited. I've heard that it's kind of tricky to get into the writing style just because it is quite an old book, but I'm used to that. I'm ready for that challenge and I'm excited. Dracula will be our vampire book of 2026. Number 19 is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I'm surprising myself by putting a fantasy book on this list because fantasy has just not been something that I've been gravitating towards very often at all. But out of the fantasy books that I have really, really loved and been obsessed with was Rebecca Ross's Divine Rivals, I believe it's called, right? Yeah. That one, the characters were communicating with a magical typewriter, and the story just felt so magical. The way it was written, I was trying to read it so slowly because there was something about those books. I read both of them, the first and the second, but there was just something about those books that were so magical and just incredible. And I'm really excited to see if this new book is anything like that. I believe there's also letters in this one as well, and I'm just ecstatic. If I can find another book that gives me that type of feeling, I want to read it. So I'm excited for Wild Reverence. I've also heard really incredible things. I've only seen a few people read it, but all good things. And number 20, the last book on my physical TBR that I want to get to in 2026 is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This book I bought about a week ago when I was going on the plane, and my plan was to read it on the plane, but all the lights were off. It was dark. I couldn't read it. And now I have this book sitting on my shelf, and I'm so excited because I also saw that the movie has recently been released, and once again, I sound like a broken record, but I love reading the book and then watching the movie. So I'm hoping I can do that with this one. And this one is supposed to be about Shakespeare's son that Hamlet was written about. Apparently, Hamnet and Hamlet, the names are one and the same. So I'm excited for this one. It sounds like it's going to be very interesting, and it is definitely well loved. Okay, the last 6 books on my 26 books in 2026 TBR, we have The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Because I haven't read them and I don't know much about them, I am going to read the synopsis so that you can get just excited about these books as I am. The Barnes family are in trouble. Until recently they ran the biggest business in town. Now they're teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, and that's just the start of their problems. Dickie and Imelda's marriage is hanging by a thread. Straight-A student Cass is careening off the rails. PJ is hopelessly in debt to the school bully. Meanwhile, the ghosts of old mistakes are rising out of the past to meet them, but everyone's too wrapped up in the present to see the danger looming. And this synopsis doesn't say what I saw on the book when I was in the store, but it also said that it begs the question of how far back and how many decisions back do you have to go to stop some tragedy that happened or stop something? Like, where did everything go wrong? Like, how many decisions ago? And that concept is so interesting to me. So I'm very excited for this one. We get it. You're excited. I'm saying it for every single book. The next one is a horror book, and it was one of the top books on Goodreads horror, and it is Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. Set against the violent wilderness of the Moors and the uncontrolled appetite of the Industrial Revolution, Hungerstone is a compulsive feminist reworking of Carmilla, the book that inspired Dracula, a captivating story of appetite and desire. So this will go kind of with my Dracula read this year. I feel like I should read Carmilla too. So 3 vampire books this year, but I'm very excited for this one, and I love the cover. It looks like it's going to be thrilling, to say the least. We also have The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. It is translated from Japanese. He is a brilliant math professor with a peculiar problem. Ever since a traumatic head injury, he has lived with only 80 minutes of short-term memory. She's an astute young housekeeper with a 10-year-old son who is hired to care for him. The Housekeeper and the Professor is an enchanting story about what it means to live in the present and about the curious equations that can create a family. I feel like that just speaks for itself. Like, how incredible does that sound? Just that alone, having those 2 characters starting to interact and spend so much time together, and the professor having this 80 minutes of short-term memory, it sounds so interesting, and that's definitely high on my list for 2026. I am so excited. Oh my god. I need to get excited out of my vocabulary. It is annoying me incredibly. 24 is Thirst for Salt, which I've heard such great things about. I've just never picked it up myself. It is by Madeline Lucas. It is listed as fiction, romance, literary fiction. It is definitely a book that I will be reading in the summer. It says it's in the water where she first sees him. A local man, almost 20 years her senior. Adrift in the summer after finishing college, a young woman is on holiday with her mother in an isolated Australian coastal town. Finding herself pulled to Jude, the man in the water, she begins losing herself in the simple, seductive rhythms of his everyday life. As the relationship deepens, life at Sailor's Beach offers her the stability she has been craving as the daughter of 2 drifters. Thirst for Salt reveals with stunning, sensual immediacy the way the past can hold us in its thrall, shaping who we are and what we love. So this one I've heard such good things about, and it sounds like a perfect summer read, and I will definitely be reading that on the beach somewhere. 2 left. I feel like I've been talking for a century, but number 25 is My Work, and I recently saw this at a bookstore. Never heard of it before, but it drew me in, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. It is by Olga Ravin. It says, My Work is a novel about the unique and fundamental experience of motherhood. It mixes fiction, essays, poetry, memoir, and letters to explore the thorny, twisted ties between pregnancy, maternity, capitalism, work, art, individuality, and literature. And I feel like this book is just going to be so unique and nothing I've ever read before. Even flipping through the pages of the book in the bookstore, seeing that it's all written in different styles with essays, poetry, and just different ways of sharing and explaining the story. I'm very excited to read this one this year. It might be the next book I buy at the bookstore. I got a lot of gift cards for Christmas, so I think we have to go shopping. Last but not least, number 26 is surprisingly another fantasy. We have 2 fantasies on here this year, and it is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Like I said before, not a lot of fantasies have been drawing me in, and when I do finally read one, it's just lacking something for me, and I don't feel like I really needed to read it. But this one, I cannot stop thinking about. I've seen such good reviews for it, and every time I see the cover and see the book somewhere or see someone talk about it, there's something drawing me into it, and I haven't read Rachel Gillig's other books that were very popular. I kind of wanted to read them, but not enough to actually go and read them. That is One Dark Window, I believe. This one, I don't even really know what it's about, and I don't even really want to. I want to go in blind. There's just something calling me to this book, and if this one doesn't work, if I felt this huge pull to it and it doesn't work, then maybe I just need to not read fantasy for a while because they haven't really been working. So we'll try this one, and we'll try Wild Reverence, and we'll see if they do anything for me. But wow, we have gotten to the end of the list. Thank you so much for sitting here and watching me talk for so long about 26 books that I want to read in 2026. These are the books that are the highest up on my list, and I am determined to read them all this year. Please let me know what's on your list. I would love to know what's on your radar, what's on your physical TBR that you need to get to. what's releasing that you want to read and what you want to go buy right now from the store and read this year. So thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.